but there's 8 years difference between my older son and the next child. So when that one would nap, we played card games, and he remembers that still. We're really close and stuff like that. And now that they're older, I love doing sporting events with them. Like the opening day of the Diamondbacks, my oldest son and I always go, and then the middle son, we like to play golf. And so just spending that time with them, doing stuff with they like. So, and I do too.
When my kids were little, my husband and I would each have a kid that night at bedtime. We would do our bedtime routine, which would usually be like, we'd read a Bible story, then we'd read a regular story, then we'd pray, and then each one of us would spend just like 5 minutes in bed with one of the kids, which was tricky when they were in bunk beds. And just tell me your favorite part of your day, or like, and it was just such a sweet, like, connection time. Now my favorite time is when my adult children just call me and want to chat. Like, it's the best. Like, they just want to share their life with you, and it's so cool. So I love that. Yeah.
Okay, another one for all of you. Best ways or ideas for one-on-one time with a child when there is no nap time to work with.
So same thing, that the bedtime routine, or like set a timer and reward the ones that can. Hey, if you can give mommy start with maybe 5 minutes. If you can give mommy 5 minutes with little Susie, then Johnny gets his turn tomorrow, and then you build up. Hey, now it's 10 minutes, and as they get older, now it's 20 minutes, so that you have like a little inside date with each kid. It doesn't have to be every day. It could be once a week. It could be random. Like, don't burden yourself, but your kids will remember those things. And then also one thing we would do is do a date night where I would actually, take out a kid, and my husband would take out a kid for an actual little date. But again, like, that was like once a month, once every 6 weeks, whatever, one of the kids would get a chance to go out. We have friends that have 12 kids, and they rotate through, each one of them takes a kid to Goodwill on their, now they don't do it anymore, but on their dollar day, like all the blue tents are $1, and you can pick up to 20 items, that are that color. And so, yeah, but with 12 kids, what do you do? That's like a cheap, right, date, and so, so you can do it even if you have 12 children, apparently. So. Yeah. But I don't recommend 12 kids, I'll just tell you. God bless you.
We weren't really intentional about finding one-on-one time, and looking back, that would have been a really good idea. But and also I worked most of the time. But I'll share one story, something I did with my son he still remembers that was special. When he got taller than me, we went out to dinner, just the two of us. That was a big deal, right, for boys, at least. And so, Adam's taller than me now, so Mom and I were going out for a steak dinner. And it was really special.
Yes, I'm tired of having a back pocket.
I think with all the kids, I was finding out what things were fun for them. Like one would be like putting a puzzle together. And so I have one that really likes to color. So he can be over here coloring, and I can be doing the puzzle with this one. And that's a big deal because, doing it on their own, they lose interest, or my boys did. But having boys, they also like to collect, rocks and stuff. So that was kind of
venomous bugs.
So it was kind of just being engaged with whatever they like, and while the others are involved in these little projects. So it's like, why don't you do the puzzle, and then I'll come back and help you, and then I'm going to take so and so out, and we're going to look around for rocks or whatever. But
Okay, and then Becky, what are some ways to make friends, moms or not moms? Just ways to make friends.
I think this is so incredible, and I just think that that's what I had, I had moms that I knew from church that had littles, and we started doing a babysitting club. And so that worked out really well. But then it was also nice as they got older and got to school to hang with them and just, get together. And it is intentional. You do have to say, because everybody's busy, I'm retired and I'm like busy. Everybody goes, you're so busy. And I go, well, I just put things on the calendar. I have a Bible study group and a prayer partner that I met when this was Bethany. And, we're still really good friends. And we went to Bible study here and prayer partners. And now we're going to another Bible study every week. And there's just nothing like it. We watched our kids grow up. Her daughter was my oldest son's babysitter, and so, we have history. And so it just starts with little things, it doesn't have to be a big thing, like let's go for a walk, if you can take a half an hour. Your husband wants the kids, so you just take that time, because you deserve that. And I can't tell you how refreshing that is when you come back in the house and go, phew, I had girl time, so.
Chris, do you think that?
Yeah, I would say also find moms that get you. So like as a mom of adopted kids from trauma, not everybody gets you, right? And so finding other trauma mamas has literally given me life, because my boys are crazy and there are days I legit want to kill them. And it's just different than I felt about my biological kids, because they weren't trying to kill me back, but you have a kid with special needs. I have kids with special needs. Finding moms that get that understand that part of you. If you have a specific health issue, finding other parents that deal with that specific health issue. It's so nice to have people that get you, because so often I think the enemy really works to isolate us, and just wants to make you feel like you're alone in what is going on in your life. And that's such a lie. And so if you can find people that are like-minded and have, some similar circumstances to you that you can really link arms with, I think it's just so helpful. Yeah.
Okay, this one's a good one. Going off of Kristen's talk last week, holding boundaries lovingly with my in-laws always makes me feel guilty. I feel like I have to choose between being a good mom or a good daughter. So Chris?
Yeah, amen. You know that boundaries is like a hot button for me, because I was terrible at boundaries early in my marriage, and it really wreaked havoc on my own, just personal health, on my mental health. And so I had to do kind of a reconnaissance mission to figure out, how do I take care of me? Because you're expecting your spouse or the people around you to take care of you. You really have to have those good boundaries in place. And then link arms with your spouse to go, how are we gonna then build boundaries? So you have to have your own good personal boundaries, right? Then you have to build boundaries with your spouse. What are we gonna decide are our boundaries for our family? Because in-laws really sometimes act like outlaws more often. And so you have to be very protective. And it's okay, it is okay to offend your in-laws. It's okay to offend your in-laws. It's okay to offend your own parents. It is okay, because your job is to raise your family well. That's your job. And so I say, if you have to choose your family, right? And if there is an internal boundary issue between you and your husband, I would probably get some outside help to just say, hey, we could use some help figuring this out, because I feel like this is a boundary for me and he's not honoring it, or we need to figure out what is a mutual boundary. But I would say, if you have to choose, you choose to boundary up with your spouse and your kids. And it is okay that they parented differently. It is okay that they think that you're too overprotective. It is okay if they think the kids should stay up till midnight when they're at their house and you say, no, I want them in bed at 8. It's okay to say, either you put them to bed at 8 or they don't stay with you, and that's okay. It is okay to do what you think is best for your kids. And if you go, we don't care, great, then you don't have a boundary issue, right? So, but it is absolutely okay. And you wanna talk through hey, my mother-in-law hates me, I will happily walk that journey with you, because it's a real deal. And we've watched, my husband's officiated over 100 weddings, and we've watched couples, the in-law thing is like so intense. So, you really, really have to early on establish really good boundaries so that it doesn't become a problem. But yeah, but like, Kristen had said, that book, Boundaries by Henry Cloud and John Townsend, is that right?
Yes.
Henry Cloud, no, yeah, Cloud and Townsend is such a good book. So if you feel like, gosh, I could really use some boundaries, that's a really good book. It's very good. Yeah.
Okay, these two next ones kind of go together, so I'm gonna put them together. Best advice to sustain a marriage and suggestions for prioritizing the marriage. And it's for all three of you.
Well, when my husband now, when I first got married, we just, you know, he just said, you know, we have this 8 and 11-year-old that we're raising, and the other children were adults, and he just said, you know, when they're gonna grow up and they're gonna leave, and we need to nurture this, you know, and so he said that from the get-go, and I thought, oh, my babies are gonna grow up, no, you know, but the reality is they do, you know, and they move on and they have their families, and we're part of their families, but I don't wanna lose this. And for a while, we were even going to counseling because we were a blended family, and we didn't really know how we were gonna do that. And the counselor was a Christian man, and he said, what made you fall in love with your spouse? And I just think that's so important for us to remember to honor that. You know, what did you fall in love with? And how important is it, all this little trivial stuff that kind of could be nitpicking and pick us apart? We want to build it up. We want to say, you know, yeah, he's the best thing that ever happened to me, and you know, I hear him saying that. And I think when you're with other couples or with your other people, you know, yes, you have your safe person that go, this really irritates me and that really irritates me, but kind of confidentially, you know, I don't want to give you back to him because he's just a man, you know. And I'm a woman too, you know, and he's going like, oh, you know, you look fine, why are you taking so much time? Why are you putting makeup on? You know, you look fine to me, you know. But I said, well, it makes me feel pretty, you know, and so over the years, you know, he's going, well, she's going to take time to do that. How much time do you need before we go somewhere? And I'll tell him. So I just think it's getting to know each other and honoring that.
I will confirm what part you said about counseling. We've been to counseling on and off most of our marriage, and a lot of our issues were blended family issues, but everyone has their issue. I would say it was moderately helpful until we found a Christian counselor, and that made all the difference, because then it was like our focus was different. But just some practical things. Don't assume that they're out to get you, that they are trying to do something, your husband, I mean. Don't assume they're trying to do something to bug you, you know, to get even with you, whatever. Just try to assume the best about it. I know when we're spiraling into problem areas, I'm thinking, I was just doing that to make me mad or whatever. But that's just the evil one talking. He's probably not doing that. And then pray for grace, pray for forgiveness, that you can show that to your spouse, because once you start doing that, they'll start doing that most likely. And then when you have leisure time, try and find things to do together. Don't just go do what you like to do and he does what he likes to do. I mean, do some of that for sure, but find some things you both like to do. Like we used to go for lots of bike rides together. That was something we enjoyed. We do that a little bit now, but we also go for walks where we can talk. Just try and make sure you build some of that into your routine.
And I would say don't get lazy. Like, don't assume that the status quo is okay, because you are never stagnant. You're either doing this or you're doing this. So it's like, it's much more worth the hike. The view is better at the top than it is down, right? So it's worth the work you put in. And the best, we have also counseling. Don't ever be afraid to ask for help. We have done so much counseling, and it has been so vitally important. We did a prayer conference at a time where we were really, really struggling in marriage. And one of the things I pulled from that was really life-changing for us was, your husband is on the same team as you. You wear the same jersey. Like, he's on your team, he's not your opponent, so don't treat him like he is against you, just like you said. He's not against you, right? Satan is your opponent, and he is trying so hard to break you up. Just like Robert said a couple weeks ago, right? Is to, instead of moving that issue between the two of you, both of you should stand on the other side and look at the issues, like, how do we tackle this issue, right? You're teammates, you're not opponents. And so really that changed my perspective in such a big way, because I really did think, he's really doing this just specifically to piss me off. I was sure he was doing it just to piss me off. And it was like, wait a minute, he had no idea that I was even pissed about it. So like, yes, so.
Right, and just about everything. We read those books about the love language, and I think that's so important. That he knows my love language, I know his, and so you can encourage that. And then through the church, they had conferences. They'd have weekend conferences, and you'd go away, and going away together was really nice, But also to I don't want to say work on, but encourage and build up your marriage.
Yeah, and just prioritize it.
Yeah, those are really good.
And a little uncomfortable on some of the things that they had us do, and they go, okay, talk about this now, go to your room and talk about this, in your hotel room. And like, one of them was like at the Ritz-Carlton, and like, oh, this is really great, but you're still in this atmosphere of learning about your relationship and building it up.
Yeah, the love language thing is a good thing. We talked quite a bit about it last night, and all of us agreed that knowing your love language and their love language is so helpful. Yeah, and just little ways that you can speak into that. I'm terrible at words of affirmation for my husband specifically. Everybody else, I can give you words of encouragement all day long, but specifically for him, I struggle, isn't that funny? So, yeah, so I have to be very intentional about it, so.
Favorite date night ideas
That's a good one.
for all of you?
My answer would be going out to eat. One, I learned to cook. Two, it required us to have a conversation. And maybe it was just lighthearted, or maybe we talked about issues, but, or any situation, it could be a walk, but any situation where you can have a conversation. You're not just watching a movie, you could do both, but it requires you to interact.
We spent a lot of years very poor, so we had to be very creative about date nights. It wasn't like fancy elaborate steak dinners or anything like that, but some of my favorite memories is there was a shaved ice place, which is funny, my daughter works at a shaved ice place now, so it's kind of reminiscent. But we used to go get shaved ice, and then we would cross the street to this parking lot at ASU and sit up at the top and just watch the traffic and talk. And that was like, what, it cost us, back then, maybe $5 for a date night, and it was some of my favorite ones. And sometimes we'd bring a little picnic blanket, and and yeah, and so it doesn't have to be elaborate. And you can plan a picnic in the backyard while the kids are sleeping. You can plan, doesn't have to be expensive or elaborate. And yeah, sometimes the most meaningful things are just the little teeny things, So.
And I think for us, still now is, I love nature, and he does too, just hiking, and so when it gets warmer, then we hike early in the morning, or in the evenings, again, taking walks in the park, doing the picnic. We can even take stuff to like grill at the park. And so, it's just nice to do things that we enjoy. A drive to the lake, Squirrel Lake's not that long, and so I don't know, just things away from distractions, which right now there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of distractions.
If you want something easy at home to do, Kristen had recommended the marriage journal. She had told me about it, I don't know, a little over a year ago, and so I bought one for each of our married kids, and then I bought several and just have given them out. And then every time one of my kids' friends gets married now, because they're all in the marrying stage, I give them that. And it's just a once a week, 5 little simple questions, and it doesn't take that long, and it just keeps the communication open. So, it's really good.
I also think it's kind of nice to go out with another couple. And basically, because they talk about their relationship, we're kind of talking about ours. Then we come back and we go, hey, we're doing pretty good.
we had gone to a marriage seminar, and we took this one couple out to dinner, and they were actually quite well married, but but we have had those couples that we go, whoa, we're doing just fine. but they were both, one was a psychiatrist, one was a psychologist, and they worked a lot with married couples. And the lady said, and it stuck with me, is she said, of all the couples we see, there are 3 areas, if you can keep these 3 areas aligned, she said, we've never seen anybody in our office that didn't have problems in one of these 3 areas. If they come to us, it's one of these 3 things, where she said, if you can tell your spouse anything, so practice that now, being able to tell them anything, right? So being able to tell them anything, spending a regular date time with them, like making it intentional time with them, right? And having regular sex. She said, those 3 things, we, bar none, we don't, if those 3 things are in order, we won't see you in our office. Yeah, so, and I was like, oh, and we had a couple of those out of whack for a long time, so I was like, okay, we gotta fix a few things. We'll get back to you, yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Kind of the same question, but now when your kids were younger. What is the best date when your kids were 0 to 5 years old? That's obviously a different time.
Well, I definitely like to think about going out to dinner, because, you know, it's like, oh, somebody's serving me, you know, so it's gonna clean up that, and it's gonna clean up the dishes, and, you know, and you can have that conversation. And it's really hard when the kids are little to not talk about the kids, you know, but just talk about each other. And again, take it back to when you fell in love with them, what you felt, and put that fire back in there, just like, oh, and guys love to talk. So if you ask them about themselves, they generally are really like on it. Well, at least my husband. She asked me about me. I mean, I can go on and on, but if I ask him about him, yeah, he'll tell me. And he likes to.
I would say for us, we were in a babysitting co-op, and I know you guys have talked about doing a babysitting co-op, but we were in a babysitting co-op, so we never had to pay a babysitter, which was lovely. And so that was, we exchanged points instead of money, and so being able to do that gave us time to actually have date nights, especially when we were so broke we could not afford a babysitter and going out, right? Because it's a lot. So yeah, so that was super, super helpful, is to, and especially in a group like this, you know who you're leaving your kids with, right? And so you go, they have similar values to me, they have similar things, and you can ask them, you know, how's your house set up, and how is, you know, blah, blah, blah. Do you have a pool fence, and all the things. Yeah, yeah. So that's how we were able to do, I don't know that that was our best, you know, that didn't answer what was our best date, but sometimes our best date
I
is
feel
just
like that's like,
getting out.
personally for me, is my biggest struggle, is getting someone to watch my kids.
Yes.
So that I can get out of the house with them.
Yes, and for those of you that don't have family that's
Yeah.
easily accessible, it's just tricky,
Yeah.
right? And so, and we were talking this morning that it becomes like, wow, we wanna take a 5-hour date, like that's $100 for the babysitter, then, you know, however much for the date, and then, that's ridiculous.
My husband really wanted to go see Avatar 2, and he's like a big movie buff. And I was like, babe, it's like a 3-hour movie, and we have to drive there, and we have to drive, I'm like, it's like
Yes.
4 hours, like.
Yes, and we stayed in the popcorn line, that's another 10 minutes, and
I know,
I
he was like, you're overthinking it, and I'm like, no, we have to like, it's just, it's time and it's effort.
it's a real deal.
I know.
So I guess what would be a date
Bedtime.
minus a babysitter? Like what if,
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
we
we've got our table, some don't have family here. you know.
right, and so then you date in, your kids are mostly at the age where they go to bed early. So then it is, set up a picnic in, you know, in the backyard, and keep the camera on, you can see what your kids are doing, or like, I brought in this old patio table we had, I brought in this old patio table, I sent my husband an invitation for a clothes optional evening, and like, and gave him a massage, right, and he was like, clothing optional, what is this all about? But then I gave him, because that table was like just the right height, so I put a mattress on it, and I set up a whole like massage parlor thing, you know, and then he just locked the doors while the kids are sleeping, so. Yeah, you have to be creative when your kids are little, right? So, you have to be more creative when they're older, honestly. Right, because they know what's going on. Yeah. Yeah.
massage table on Amazon and rent out to friends. Got it.
Massage
It's not
oil.
gonna matter because you're both naked.
Good point.
I got you.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We had the same struggle with, it was so expensive to pay for, to go out and pay for a babysitter. So I asked my husband his answer to this question too, and he said, well, remember your company parties? My company would have big fancy parties. And so you'd get all dressed up, and it was a nice meal and dancing, and he said, then if we had to pay for the babysitter, it wasn't so bad because we just paid for the date. So those were some fun ones. I don't know if companies really do that anymore. They used to.
Which is, yeah, I don't know if a lot of you know, you were a working mom and your husband was a stay-at-home dad.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
For
for
most
most
of our-
touch on that with, you said the company parties and it reminded me, I know no one asked questions about that, but.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit last night, because a lot of those moms last night work outside the home, but yeah, you guys might have a similar situation if your husband's companies have parties, but, yeah, that was always a lot of fun.
Okay, heading to the massage table. Does scheduling intimacy take the romance away? New mom over here.
We all
Chris,
said,
you were the only one that said you had to answer this, but. anyway.
yeah, I mean, even last night, we said like, you know it's gonna happen if you schedule it. And one of the gals last night asked a question, what if your husband wants it to be very spontaneous? And was it you that said, or Kelly?
It was Kelly.
Kelly. Yeah, don't tell him, you put it on your calendar. Like Wednesday, I can make Wednesday work, and I can mentally prepare.
The shower, the
Yeah, and not have bar fall over me, right? I can make Wednesday work. So then Wednesday, you send him a text in the morning, or you tuck a little pink nightie under his pillow, so when he wakes up, he sees it, and then you can start, but like for us, scheduling it is the best way to go about things, honestly. Because you know it's gonna happen, and there's so many things that you go, oh, it'll just happen. It doesn't just happen, right?
What's that thing too, like women are, it's an old thing.
Crock pot.
Yeah, women are hot, men
microwave.
are stovetop.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you know it's coming, then you can be like gearing up. You know,
Yes.
you're like in the right mindset, where your husband's like 0 to 100. It's like, sweet, it's on.
And work on then that way you have time to work on the foreplay.
Yeah.
Because if you send him a sexy text like, I'm really looking forward to you being home tonight. maybe we can put the kids to bed just a little early, wink emoji, right? And like Kelly had said, you don't have to let him know that it's not spontaneous, right? But you can plan around what works for you. What is gonna make you not go, oh my gosh, he just looked at me that way. He's gonna want it tonight. Oh no,
I'm so tired.
yes. And like Chris Moss, she's not here this morning, but she said last night she would tell her husband, hey, give me 20 minutes. Because then she could like go take a shower, wash the barf off, and just say, Lord, I'm not there right now. I need help. And I think that was really good advice. I need you to help me get there for him. So,
But then she added on, one of two things are gonna happen. Either you'll be ready, or he'll fall asleep.
yeah. Win-win. Mine would never. What do you think? Do you have anything to add?
Still, we schedule it. We're retired, but we have stuff we do, my husband runs in the morning and I hike with a friend and we're just busy and going and doing and we have a scheduled date, so.
Yeah.
And it's also vacations. Oh my gosh, what is it with the hotel room? together, you go in the hotel room, oh. It's so true, yeah. I don't know.
That is so funny.
But you know what, I have to turn around. It's like, I am so thrilled that he finds me desirable and he wants to be with me, you know, and that he wants, you know, he is. He's really, as I've gotten older, I mean, I'm 74, so, you know, it's like, we were playing a game last night, we like to play cribbage, and he's taking mommy, said, we got a lot of people. I said, you know, yeah, but if you take your glasses off, they all go
Any other questions in that round? So what did you do to keep your marriage a priority and thriving through the early stages of parenting? And when it did get hard, how did you reconnect?
I've been talking about
I
that.
might have been addressing
Yeah.
that. I just emphasize again the love languages. I know from my husband it's physical touch, and he really likes me. He says, still remind me sometimes because it's not mine, but just when you walk by me, just give me a little pat or give me
Yes.
a hug or touch my face and, you know, smile at me. And so it didn't, those help him to connect and help me to connect.
And you know, we both really value that, we kiss each other goodbye when we're leaving, and we, you know, say I love you, and yeah, just that, he, you know, he can kind of get into Netflix and all this stuff, and I'm a type A, and I'm going and I'm doing, but sometimes he just wants me in the room. So I may not be engaged in that, and he just maybe look at my head, but he just kind of wants me to be in the room, you know, the person, you know, but you know, he does open the car door for me. I appreciate that. We do hold hands, and you know, I think that's really, he knows that means a lot to me, and it means a lot to him too. So, yeah, we just keep on what it was, like I said, at the very beginning of the relationship, you know. And if you're missing it, just say, I really liked it when we were holding hands. And you know, when you've got kids, but when you don't have the kids around, you know, just sitting there. I had a friend that is a widow now, and she just said, oh, I just miss all the cuddling and everything. And I thought, well, that has to be an intentional thing too, you know, it's just like sitting close, and yeah.
And going with the love language thing, again, like, we knock ourselves out because we think our whole life has to be Pinterest worthy, and it does not. It has to be the sweet little moments, right? So when we were in a rough patch, and I realized, like, I'm not speaking words of affirmation to my husband, I literally made it on my to-do list to affirm him 3 times a day. So I would say something like affirming to him 3 times a day so that his love language was being met. So it doesn't even have to be some grandiose thing. You know, yes, the massage room was lovely, it worked out, you know, and it was just sweet because he felt prioritized and he felt connected, and it was very sweet. But just little things like meeting his love language, and being intentional about that and making that an actual, turning that into a habit was so helpful in our marriage. And I know one piece of advice that Chris shared last night that she got from you was she goes to her husband and says, this is very important to me. And then she will tell him, because men don't always catch what is super important to you. So it is okay, we think, he should just know. He should just know. I can't believe he doesn't know that is important to me. Well, tell him, this is very important to me. I need you to hear me, I need you, and then if date nights are important to you, you schedule them. If communication is important to him, you schedule it. Or is important to you, schedule it. Like, make it a priority. Hey, can we just, tonight when the kids go to bed, can we just spend 20 minutes just chatting? But then, if that's important to you, help meet your own needs. Don't put the pressure on your husband to meet needs he doesn't know you have, right? You can help meet your own needs. So, and you'll be surprised at how it meets his needs too. So, yeah.
And we talked last night, we were talking about books, and how we got on the Love and Respect by Sean Feldman. That's such a good book. But in the respect realm, like, if you need to talk and you want 20 minutes, if you ask him when is it convenient for you, when's there 20 minutes, you're
Yes.
respecting his time, and then he'll, I would assume my husband does, reciprocates with, oh, well, I'm really busy right now, but how about like after supper or whatever. And then you sit down and you do what it is you wanted to do, and everybody's happy.
Yes. And the other book that you shared was the Your Bitch book. Or did Kelly share that? The book, How We Love. Oh yes, How We Love by Yurkovich. I can't think of their first names, but talks about how the style of the way that you love is influenced by the way you were raised and the different traumas that you've been through, and it really is very eye-opening. If there's ever a book that you wanted to like read together with your spouse, it's very eye-opening and really helps you look at, oh, well, that stuff that happened in your childhood really has affected the way you've been in marriage and the way you've parented, and so how do we work within that? Super helpful book. So.
Okay. I love the way this question was worded because it turns it into a positive way. What is the best way to discuss something you see in your partner's parenting that you want to correct? Like, instead of pointing the finger, and I feel like instead of saying he's lazy, he doesn't do this, it was turned into a positive light. It's the best way to discuss something you see in your partner's parenting that you want to correct.
Yeah, and I know Chris Moss was gonna answer that. I can't remember how she answered, because we had a similar one of that last night. But for me, what I would say is I would go to your spouse in curiosity. Like, hey, I noticed that, you know, when Johnny did this, that you did that. Tell me more about that. Like, I'm really curious as to, like, you know, what your thought pattern is, instead of, did you see what you did with him? Did you see the way you handled that? Go in with curiosity. Curiosity actually switches a switch in your brain where it keeps you from becoming defensive. So anytime that you go, I want to go into this without being defensive with my spouse or him being defensive with me, use curiosity. So that was a little trick I've learned from my counselor, and it's like magical. I use it with my kids, I use it, yeah, with my husband. But so just being curious, and say, hey, you know, I feel like we're kind of struggling with the way that, you know, Johnny is being aggressive. I'm curious if we could just brainstorm. Can we just brainstorm some different ways that we can handle that, instead of going to him with your finger shaking, telling him what he's doing wrong? Like, invite him into the process and say, well, you know, one thing I read was that, you know, this happens to be really effective with kids that are doing this. I'm wondering, do you think that's something we could try? And then you're inviting him to it instead of telling him what he did wrong and what he needs to do differently. You know what I mean? So I do not by any means win at this one. I'm just telling you what you should do. Yeah, that's just what you should do. So.
Okay, next question. What happens to trauma over the years?
Indeed, ladies.
It doesn't just go away. You need to process it. You know, either counseling or there's a lot of books, with somebody you trust. Maybe your husband, maybe not. But if you just ignore it, it's gonna get worse. And there's lots of kinds of trauma. It's not just, you were sexually abused or something really bad. I mean, there's little things like your parents weren't there for you emotionally. You always felt kind of like you had to take care of everything yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, needs to be addressed. We hear a lot more about it now.
I think it's really good with the counseling. I think that was so good. But also, I found a lot of help in, when my father died, I went to grief counseling. And I was really close to my dad. And so when I went to grief counseling, it was like 8 weeks, and I started grieving over things that bothered me, as how I was raised, and grieving my brother that died, and grieving, you know, the marriage marriage that of the 3 boys it wasn't anymore, and you know, just it just kind of came out, and it was a safe place. It was a really safe place. And then as time went on, I started finding confident friends that went through similar things, and we would share over, you know, coffee. You know, this is what she went through, and you know, because nobody knows like somebody else that's gone through it. So now, you know, when somebody loses a parent, I go, yeah, I know. It's really hard to lose a parent. And you know how to process that. It's really the words that are not helpful, like, oh, you know, get over it, oh, just get busy. And I mean, yeah. So it was helpful. The counseling was really helpful. And it was just that, I went for this reason, I got so much more out of it.
Yeah. And not just for trauma. I feel like all those things that you go, I just hope it'll get better. I just hope it'll get better. It's not gonna get better until you make the intentional move to help it get better. So whether that be seeing a counselor or just having a friend that will listen is so good for your brain. And it's so good for healing trauma, just have somebody hear your story and validate your story. It's literally like so good for your brain to have somebody validate that and go, I see you, I hear you, you are safe with me, your story is safe with me, is healing. And so to have that is so valuable. But yes, please do not ignore it. Do not ignore it. Little trauma, big trauma, whatever you think it is, little trauma becomes giant trauma over time. So do not ignore it. Do not ignore it. Yeah, you're worth saving. You're worth being whole. So, and you'll be a better mom and a better wife and a better friend. Yeah.
I feel like mom is always last right now. How do you ever find time for you ever again? Cindy.
Well, you will. It's a season, and it feels like that for sure. You feel like you're doing everything, and you know everyone else is take. And I know for me, I worked full time, and I really felt like I had to put myself last in a lot of ways because I wasn't always there for my kids and my husband. But now it just feels like it went by in a flash. And now I have time to do lots of things that I like to do. And I don't regret that, that I didn't. I think I'd have more regrets if I was taking a lot of time for myself back in that phase instead of doing everything I could to pour into my family.
I think scheduling any little period of time, as like I said, you know, if you just even before you go to work, if the husband just say, you know, and just have 30 minutes to, you know, whatever, go for a walk, go get a coffee or whatever. It starts with that, just saying you're worth that time, whatever that looks like. This, I think, is very powerful. I think just bonding as moms and having the children in daycare, I think that's the best use of your time. I just applaud all of you for doing it. I just think that I have to make it, you know, and it's gonna be, you know, maybe it's not every day. You know, next week, you know, this is a period of time that I can take for me, and you know, you're worth it. You really are, and you come back so just full of energy and vibrance. And when I step away, I go, I'm mom, and that's a really important job. And I'm a wife, and that's an important job. You know, I could do this. You know, and you know, maybe your prayer and meditation time is that way. You know, maybe it's in the evening. I know with my boys, it would be in the evening, and they'd be already in bed, and I'd just go for a walk. You know, 30 minutes. I was like, this was nice. You know. Seeing the stars, seeing the sunset, you know, whatever, just regrouping, you know.
So you sound like you're an introverted person.
Do it?
Yeah, you sound like you need alone time to read.
I do.
I feel like knowing whether you're like introverted or extroverted helps a lot
Yeah.
in motherhood, like knowing what kind of fills your cup back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think too.
Yeah.
It's really important. I have a lot of friends and I really value that. And, yeah.
The
But
best
yeah, I
way
do.
I heard it described was like an extroverted person feels more energized after being with people, and an
Yes.
introverted person feels more energized after being alone.
Right.
So it's like introverted
It's a
people still
balance.
need people too,
Yeah.
but it's like they need the alone time to kind of like like you said, like recenter yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still learning.
Good insight.
Forever the student here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, thinking way far back, what is the best way someone has loved on you in your postpartum season?
When we were talking about that, because we had a little Zoom thing with Chris, and it just came right to my mind, it was people bringing food. It's like, that was, I mean, it was just overwhelming to think about fixing food, and, you know, I was just like giving everything to just being a mom, and it was wonderful to have people. I love it that you guys do that, meal, whenever you know somebody is just going through something, let's do a meal train. And I can't think of anything more nurturing for me. That would be my love language, is just to have some food brought over. And I didn't have to think about it. Generally it's toss away stuff, and still today, I mean, that was a long time ago, the postpartum season, but you know, I went through a broken ankle, and people were bringing food over. It was like, yay, and my husband was thrilled. They answered the door, and goes, food. So, that would make them fix it, so food, you know.
That was my answer too, but since Chris Moss isn't here, I'll share her answer from last night, because I thought it was a really good one. When her second child was born, she had a neighbor or a friend or somebody who would come over regularly and take her older child for a few hours. And they would bake cookies, or they would play beauty parlor, you know, her daughter would come home, all their hair all done, and it would give Chris some time while the younger one was napping, to have some time for herself. So she thought that was the greatest thing. Yeah, that sounds like a good one.
Yeah. For me, the thing that comes to mind was not postpartum season, but it was just as we had 4 biological kids at the time, 3 foster kids, and then we had 3 kids whose mom was a flight attendant, so they lived with us. So we had 7 to 10 kids depending on the day, every day of the week. And when the 3 foster kids came to live with us, one of the elders' wives at our church called me, and she would come once a week and pick up my laundry. Can you imagine how much laundry that was? 7 to 10 kids every week, and she would pick up my laundry. That like spoke, I mean, I can't tell you how loved I felt, because it was like, I cannot do all of this laundry, you know, and she would just come, that was the sweetest thing. And she'd bring me dinner different times, but really, it was like, just like, you know, it was like, I am drowning in laundry. And she's like, I can help. Okay, and she did. And I'm one of those that, well, I can't have somebody help. And I was like, that was amazing, and spoke volumes.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So good. So many pairs of underwear to fold.
Why do you fold? They're not wearing underwear.
Yes.
I'm not wearing underwear, because I'm like, I don't have it.
No, we don't care. Don't around right. No, please learn.
It's only in summer, they're gonna want some Exactly. Like, I still like your butt. You need underwear. You're like, it's clean. And you're potty trained. You don't even need underwear right now.
It's fine. Yes. And it's one less thing to wash. Just on a side note, with my 11-year-olds, a couple weeks ago, they always put the laundry basket in the laundry room when it's ready to go. I dumped it in, moved it to the dryer, so I'm moving it to the dryer, I'm like, out of that entire basket of clothes, there's 1 pair of underwear. For 2 boys. What in the world? I'm like, when was the last time either of you changed shirts? So then we had to start doing underwear checks at 11 years old. Like, are we still wearing the underwear from February? I don't know, probably. So, I mean, what's too lazy to change their underwear. And but I'm like, when you're showering, so what is happening? You put like the
season.
Mm.
I'm feeling lost as to what to do for work or passion project for all of you.
I know for me, the staying at home, being a mom was hard because I've been working and what's my identity, you know, and value. And so then you start getting that, but then I thought, but I still need to do something because I'm not using my gifts that I enjoy doing. So I would start working part-time. And then I was like, oh no, what am I, now I'm not a good mom because I'm leaving my kids. But what I found was moms that did in-home babysitting, and they were in the neighborhood and the kids knew each other. So that was really peaceful for me because I would drop them off there and I'd go out and probably earn enough money just to pay the babysitter. But it was such a good feeling to put on like worker bee clothes and be that, not lose that identity. That was just important to me. And I don't know, I think that when I would pick them up, the kids would be so happy with their little day person they had, and then come home and then I could be, you know, that role again. So I'm forever a mom, forever a mom. My grown kids, forever a mom, and a mom. So yeah.
So I was working full-time when we got married, and then when I had my first child, I cut back on my hours, and then second child cut back even further on my hours. So it was very part-time. We had, like you, we had a nanny come into our house, and she would watch the kids, so I felt really good about that. And I always kind of thought either I would stay part-time like that, because it was kind of the best of both worlds, or I would stay home completely, and my husband would, as his career progressed, he would be our sole provider. Well, it didn't work out that way, and he got laid off, and he's in healthcare, and his profession, occupational therapy, kind of lives and dies on Medicare reimbursements, and it was a phase where Medicare cut way back, and a lot of OTs got laid off, and he got laid off, and he couldn't find work. Well, getting by on one part-time salary wasn't working, so I went back full-time. And it was really hard because that was not my dream. That was not what I thought was gonna happen. But he was a really good stay-at-home dad, and I had a really rewarding career. And while I wasn't always parenting my own children, I was kind of parenting the younger people who worked for me, which I found out when I retired and got notes and emails and stuff, how much that meant to people, which was super cool. But, so I guess you don't really know how things are gonna go, and if you're thinking of going back to work, whatever works for your family, whatever you can make work, and it doesn't have to be that way forever. Whatever you choose, it might not work, and you might switch it up, either the two of you, or what you do, or what he does. You're not locked into it forever.
Yeah. I've kind of done all of the things. I've been a stay-at-home mom, I've been a working mom. I was the daycare person that took people into our home so that I didn't have to work outside of the home. I just had other people's kids with me because seriously, once you have 3 kids, you can have 82, and it's like the same thing. So, like just pile them in the van, it's fine. Right? So I've done kind of all the things, and I would just say, like, I think the best thing is just to go, God, what do you have for me in this season? And like, instead of like, oh gosh, no, I've lost my dream, right? You rose up to do and to, be Jesus with skin on in the place that you were placed. And so whatever that is for you, whether you, have the ability to stay home as a stay-at-home mom, or whether you really thrive in a working environment, or you need to be in a working environment, just asking God, what do you have for me? Because you can be Jesus wherever you are to whoever you're with. And you don't have to be with your kids 24 hours a day to be the best mom that you can to them. Sometimes you're a better mom to them not being with them 24 hours a day. I'm definitely a better mom to my boys when they are at school during the day, and I'm not with them all day long. But like my bio kids, like every second I had with them was like so precious. And so it just really, it's okay that your journey doesn't look like the journey of the person sitting next to you. That is totally fine. Just ask God, how do I honor you in the season I'm in? And yeah, because literally I've been a full-time mom, a full-time worker, a part-time worker, a daycare worker, a stay-at-home mom. I've done all of them. And there's not one that was any more valuable, really.
That was the last question. Does anyone have an extra one that they did not write down, or?
And then we want to pray over you guys.
I have a question. What do you, whoa, everybody like turned What do you, okay, what do you look forward to? What did you look forward to that you have now that we're looking forward to, but it's like being out of diapers, or like when the kids are older, you can leave them home alone. Like, what did you look forward to when you were us with the littler ones at home? I know a couple of us have like school agers, but what did you look forward to that you now have? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I always dreamed, I'm here to cry. I always dreamed I would have a really sweet friendship with my grandkids, and I do. And it's some of them, a couple of them especially, it's been kind of fighting tooth and nail to get to that place. But like, I'm their person still, and that's just really cool. Like, I love that. I love that God was really so gracious to, even in the like struggling years, help me build that relationship, build that foundation so that it grew into just a really sweet relationship, you know? So, yeah, I love that. But I do remember looking forward to, like, I would strangely look forward to, like, when they were all in school. And once my youngest bio daughter was in, it was first grade, because she only went half day to kindergarten. When she went to first grade, she was gone all day. I was like, oh, this is how women keep their house clean.
Yeah.
They send their kids to school. This is how it works. I had no idea. Like, and so, but then it was like, oh, now they're all in school all day, you know? So, yeah.
I think, me time, and other girlfriend time, that was rare, and you had to fight for it when the kids were little, but as time went on and they went in school and, then when they get older, then you develop that and you get to do things, and I love to travel, so now I get to travel, and that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that many specific, while they were growing up, things I was looking forward to. Probably, when it got easier to travel and do things with them, they were a little more self-sufficient. But mostly what Chris said, that when they became adults, and I'm gonna cry too.
I know. It's the best.
It is the best. They still both call and tell me about things, or sometimes ask me about things. And we went through a rough patch with my daughter from about age, sometime in her 20s, and it got better around 28, 29. And she was really challenging the way we parented her and saying some really mean things. But we've totally worked through that, and now she just gushes with thanks and appreciation, and we have some great talks. And now with my son, it's a little rocky because he's about to get married, and I'm not his #1 girl anymore.
Yeah.
And while I've talked to some other moms, and this is, they're getting ready for their wedding, this is kind of a touchy time, he's not the most worried about how I feel, it's still good. He still calls, a few times a week, updates me, so.
Okay, a few times a week, your son
Mine does not call that often, I'll just tell you.
Or text.
Right, but like my brothers, I don't know how often they communicate with my mom. Maybe once a month, maybe less. So that's where I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Because I'm probably the closest to my mom, but I fought tooth and nail to get there, and I'm the last of 6, so she kind of learned how to do things a little better by the time I came
Totally.
around. But also, I had a lot of gripes too. But how do you do that? Because I want my kids to call me.
Yeah.
Like,
But I think and you're building that now. You're building that now, where if you can talk about anything with them now, they'll talk about it. And my son is not the type to read. He's super independent and whatever. So I reach out to him way more. But I'll say, oh, I saw this prayer today, it totally made me think of you, I just want you to know I'm praying this for you. Oh, Mom, thanks so much, you know, and his wife is actually more communicative with me than he is. But I think it's okay that I reach out to him and he reciprocates, and he's so sweet with me. I mean, like, we had some rough patches too. His were more early teen years, where it was just rough because he was like, I'm trying to spread my wings and you're getting my way, you know? But now he's just the sweetest guy, and his wife tells him all the time, thank you for raising a man like him, you know? Like, how sweet is that? She's like, he loves me so well. Thank you for raising him. Oh, okay. So, yeah, you're building it now, and I see it. I see you with your boys. You are building it now.
You are.
Good job, Robin.
You are. Yep. And you're gonna have daughter-in-laws that will communicate, even if your boys do not.
I'm so scared. I'm so scared.
Let's get the potty
It's
training
the best.
done.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
They're so little.
Yeah.
Potty training, then marriage. There you go.
Yeah, I did look forward to potty training, right? Except that right after they potty train, it's that like, oh, I'm terrified because if we go somewhere and like we're on the freeway and I have to go right now. Yeah.
You're getting cut off.
Yeah, I will like it next time.
But thank you for sharing your hearts with us.
Will you please come up here and let us pray over you real quick?
Who are you? Thank you. Thank you, girls, for just listening.
All right, you. That's fine. Should we go?
Let's go behind.
You want to start, Becky, and then I'll end. We got 2.5 minutes. Ready, go.
Father God, thank you for a safe place for us to gather. Thank you for these beautiful mamas that are just coming to you and trusting you with their lives and loving on these children and their families. And I just pray that they feel your presence, your love, and that you've got this, that you're going before them, preparing a beautiful way. And just help them to breathe and just know that you love them so much, and that they can trust you in Jesus' name.
Heavenly Father, I lift up all these moms to you. Please fill them with your love and your grace so they can pass it on to their families. They are doing the most important job, raising the next generation. And please support them in everything they do and encourage them, and don't let them get beat down. And when they feel down, help to lift them back up, because it's not easy, but you're there for them and we're there for them.
And Lord, we're just ready to do this, and we're ready to do this well. It's so sweet to watch these mamas. They wouldn't be here if they didn't want to be good moms. And so, like, just being in this room tells me these women are good mamas. So Lord, speak that over them. Help them to not believe the lie of the enemy. He wants to destroy them. And so we just call off the enemy in the name of Jesus. And Lord, we want to listen to your truth, that we are good moms, that we are trying our hardest, but Lord, that we just need grace for ourselves and grace for our kids every single day. Lord, would you just be so present in our households? Lord, we just declare your presence over each one of our households, your salvation over each one of our kiddos, and your destiny for each and every one of them. Lord, we love you and we trust you with the future generations that are represented here today. In Jesus' name, amen.
I know, right? Oh my God. No, it's literally that.
It's been like years.
It's been like 4 years of potty training. I mostly watch